Hello, hope everybody's doing great today. My name is Amber Black, and I am the Director for Career Services here at West Texas A&M. And today I'm going to be presenting a webinar on qualifications. We as a staff believe that this is a really important section of the resume, and so it's really fun to be able to dig into this particular section and really talk more about this. So we're going to start out here just a second and just let you know that in Career Services, our mission is to connect, equip, and empower students for professional success. And so we want to teach and educate students on how to go about finding a work that they love. So this is a part of a webinar series that we're doing. We are posting these on our YouTube channel and hope that students will have the opportunity to view these either now or later after this webinar has passed. So I want to start this particular webinar with just an explanation of two different kinds of resumes. Oftentimes we will work with students and they will bring in a resume and they'll say, "Hi, will you review this resume of mine?" And they'll hand it to us and we'll say, "Yeah, well, what are you applying for?" And they're like, "All the jobs." And so they want this one size fits all resume that they can use to apply for all different types of jobs. And so what I would tell you is that if you're applying for a specific job, you really want what we would consider to be a customized resume. Industry resumes are what you would take to a career fair, and those are fine. So let's say that you are a mechanical engineering major and you would like to work in the field of mechanical engineering and you're open to lots of different options. You could potentially put together a resume that is your engineering resume that you would take when you go to career fairs. However, and this is really important, it's important that you have a customized resume every time you're applying for a specific opportunity. So if that same mechanical engineer would like an opportunity at Bell Helicopter, they need a resume that is specifically targeted to that. So we'll sort of reference both types of resumes as we go along, but I think it's important to start with this foundation of, which type of resume are you working on, and how will you utilize the information to put what's needed in those resumes. So when I give presentations, I like to talk about the qualification section as the heart of the resume. So that's why I have this big heart on the screen, because this is where you are able to prove to an employer, I have what you are looking for. This is what you say you want, and let me prove to you that I have that. So you are proving to the employer that you have the targeted knowledge, skills, and abilities that they are seeking. Just so you know, I'm showing you sort of our graduating student resume template. This is one that we use in lots of our workshops, and if you've watched or been a part of a resume workshop of ours in the past, you may have seen this particular document. And so what we want you to know is this is sort of an outline, is what we would consider this to be. But I have that big blue arrow here, right here to show you. This is typically where that summary of qualifications section goes. And so for many of our college students, you'll start your resume, of course, with your contact information and your objective, and you're going to make sure you tell them about the degree you're earning here at West Texas A&M. But below that, your qualification section is going to be really important. And something I would just like to say, I was a marketing major in college, and so this is really important to me. This is your marketing piece. This is where you put your best foot forward. And what we know about the way a person reads is that they start at the top of the page to read, and they read down your resume. And typically what we hear from employers is that many resumes only get like an 18-second look. Okay, so if you want them to invest more than 18 seconds, so you have to hold their interest. So I want you to think in terms of making sure that on your qualification section, you're leading with your best stuff first. So everything on your resume, it needs to be, what grabs their attention, what shows that I really want this job with your company and I am equipped. So again, think about it in terms of that they're going to read until they get bored. So make sure that you have some things that hold their attention. The next thing I would like to tell you is just a few tips. So again, you're going to target your resume to each job. All right, so resumes are only good for a single use. You want to use strong, active language in your qualifications. What I love about WT students, you're gaining a great education here at WT, and it's really important that you show that off on your resume. I'm not talking about using words that to make you sound like you know what you're talking about. I want you to use words that you know, but I want you to use strong language. And so rather than putting I'm good at lots of stuff, you want to talk about how, you know, that you really are proficient and that you have skills and that you are fluent and in different powerful words like that, and really active words to show that I can do the things that you are looking for. And the other tip I would like to say here is we see a lot of resumes from students where they just have these one-word qualifications or what they call skills. What I would say to you about that is that we hear all the time that students say they have good communication skills, right? Or so they'll just say communication. Well, my advice to you on that is that doesn't really help much. It doesn't help me as an employer when I'm looking at your resume and I'm considering you for a position. What I would say is tell me a story with your words. Explain to me what it means that you have good communication skills. So examples of that may be a great presenter with experience giving presentations to groups ranging from 5 to 500. Okay, that's one type of communication skills. But another qualification statement might be excellent interpersonal skills with the ability to relate well one-on-one. And so both of those are technically communication skills, but as you know, or as you just heard, those are two completely different things, and they explain your ability to do different things for employers. So let's try to avoid those one-word qualifications whenever possible. Okay, so I have provided you with qualifications that came from a current job posting, all right? So I am pretty old school, and so I'm going to tell you what I would do if I was applying for a job. I would print out the job posting because I love some paper, and I would get my handy dandy highlighter, and I'm going to go through that job posting, and I'm going to highlight everything the employer says they're looking for. So you're looking for keywords. If the employer says we are seeking a dynamic professional, I'm going to highlight those two words, dynamic professional, because that's what they say they want, right? And as they go along and they say this person will be responsible for reaching out to potential clients, I'm going to highlight that because that's a particular skill that they're looking for, something that I would need to do in the job. But I'm going to pay close attention to a section on the job posting that says qualifications or requirements. There's lots of different things that can be named, but if it says required qualification, you want to highlight everything that they put in that particular section. And so this is an example of something that I took as an excerpt from a job posting on Handshake. And so I love this one because I think it sort of shows some skills that might be in demand in lots of different jobs. This particular employer is looking for someone who's self-motivated, who has strong verbal and written communication skills, that they can work as a part of a team and interact effectively with others, that they have strong analytical skills and superior critical thinking, strong interpersonal and leadership skills, and they say the ability to drive to develop retail business knowledge. So again, there are some specific skills that they're looking for in this case. So this is what they say they want. It is up to you as the job seeker to prove to them that you have what they need, what they're looking for. So, so I want you to think in terms of a job posting and what you would be looking for there. Okay, so we have something in our office that we affectionately refer to the pink sheet. So if I had the pleasure of having you in our office right now and I was able to just hand you a form, it would be on a pink sheet of paper. And it is essentially this particular table, all right? And so I'd like for you to look at this and sort of kind of see what we're looking at here so that you could, decide, how you would go about doing this. But the first column is the knowledge, skills, and abilities sought by the employer. The second column is where have you demonstrated that you have this knowledge, skill, or ability? And then the next column is really your chance to prove that, examples where you've demonstrated that you can do this. And then finally, the last column is the column where you rank your skills and abilities based on what you think is most important to the employer. So we can kind of talk through this as we go, but I'm going to refer back to the previous slide. So let's use the example here of strong interpersonal and leadership skills, all right? It's right here on the slide. And so they say they're looking for somebody who has these, all right? So what you would do is here on this first column, you would put strong interpersonal and leadership skills. And then you would ask yourself, okay, so do I have that? Do I have strong interpersonal and leadership skills? And I want you to think about this because a lot of our students sell themselves short here. They're like, well, I don't really, probably not. I've never been a manager, okay? But what I want you to think of is, okay, but have you ever had a leadership role in a student organization? Have you ever, volunteered or taken the lead on a group project at school? In your job, are you a team lead or do you train all the new employees? So you need to think outside the box. It's not just, a particular job title that gives you this. You need to think about where did I learn it in school, either in the classroom, in a student organization, through volunteer work, and so forth. So if you have this, you're going to put down where you've demonstrated that you did that. So let's say that you developed this through an emerging leaders program on campus, that you participated in a program offered by the Office of Student Engagement and Leadership. So you would put emerging leaders in the B column. And then you would say proof, examples of you demonstrating this knowledge, skill, and ability. And so this may be where you say, I led a service project with the High Plains Food Bank to raise money for them to purchase a new freezer. Okay, so that is a random example that I just pulled out of the air, but that would be an example of something that you've done, okay? So let's say that you earned a minor in leadership, right? You could put, where have I demonstrated this? Well, I took coursework, and proof is that I've, taken these classes in leadership, and I've demonstrated it through leading group projects in my classes. But again, you're going to think and try really hard to think of concrete, specific examples of where you've in fact done that, okay? So that I actually took one specific requirement on the job posting and I sort of walked you through what you would do in this process. But you would do that for everything in the job posting, okay? If they say that you need experience on the A2000 computer software and you have that, you're going to talk about it. All right, because they specifically said that. And there's really no such thing, I don't think, as an A2000 computer program, but that just gives you an example. So if they say you need to be proficient in Microsoft Office, that would be an example of something that you would put here as a requirement. Okay, so what you would do, this would be completely full. And this is just, and what I would do if this were me is that I would actually build this in an Excel spreadsheet, so that you kind of keep this running list of all different kinds of qualifications that you have. And maybe what you do is that you add a new worksheet within the workbook every time you apply for a new job. And that way you're not constantly, you can kind of look back on previous jobs you've applied for and you're sort of compiling this list of qualifications. Because what I will show you in just a minute is that a lot of these are going to be the same. Like, many employers are looking for people with good communication skills. So once you come up with some examples of where you've demonstrated that, then you could have that here. So the last thing in the rank order, and I think this is really important, I mentioned earlier, you want them to start reading your resume, and you want to hold their interest and keep them reading. So I want you to put yourself in the place of the hiring manager. They are given all 45 resumes of the applicants for a particular job, right? Ask yourself, if I'm the hiring manager, what's probably going to be the most important thing to me, right? So if you are a project manager, right? So previous project management experience might be really important to that particular employer. So that would be the qualification that you wanted to put first on your resume. All right. Sometimes students will put random things in random order, and their best stuff is kind of buried at the bottom of the list. And so one of the things that we do when we're helping students is to get those things in the right order and to say, let's focus first on the thing that the employer would be most interested in. And that can vary based on the job that you're applying for. Okay. All right. So essentially what we have done is we have created this list of, okay, this is everything that the employer is looking for. I've thought through how these skills that I've developed during my time at WT and maybe even before. And then I have thought of the specific examples of where I've demonstrated this. Okay, And we've also decided what order we want to put those in. So now we have to actually write out our qualifications. We have to create those qualification statements, all right? And I would tell you that this is where you've got to dig deep. And I would tell you my best suggestion here, the thing that I struggle with is write some words down in your the most simple form you can. So again, we're looking at someone who has strong interpersonal and leadership skills, okay? So maybe you say ability to relate well to others as your example of your excellent interpersonal skills. Okay, so that's like your first attempt. So write that down first, kind of get it on a piece of paper. And then I want you to work to improve that. Like, how do you relate well with others, right? So then I might say ability to relate well to others and maintain a pleasant disposition. Okay, that might be kind of where I go from there. And then I continue to work on that particular qualification statement until I get it into a form that I'm really proud of. And so you're just going to continue to work on that. You're going to make sure you use keywords whenever possible. So if they say interpersonal skills, you might want to use the word interpersonal, because some employers are actually using like artificial intelligence to scan your resume for particular keywords. So you might want to use interpersonal skills, but you're going to think and tell a story that really explains how you are able to work well with other people. Okay, so you would do that for each of your qualifications. And what I would say is sometimes this can be paralyzing because you just think it has to be perfect and you're like, forget it, I'll just say communication. Okay, so don't stop there. Continue to build on that and continue to explain what exactly do you mean by that. So I want to touch on this because before we talked about job postings, right? And I was showing you that this particular job posting had these particular job requirements. Well, one of the things I want to be honest with you about is that some employers have lame job postings. There's just no other way to say it. They're like, looking for a mechanical engineer, apply online. Okay, and you're like, well, thanks, that was helpful, right? I don't really know what to say about that. So one of the things I want to tell you is that this can be a really helpful list for you to think of in terms of what are some of the things that employers are looking for candidates across majors when they are hiring. And so I used the mechanical engineering example before. And so again, the ability to think critically and solve problems is sort of what you do as an engineer, but it's also what you do as an accountant. And it's also what you do as a project manager. And it's also what you do as a nurse, right? You have to think critically to solve problems. And so if you look through your resume, and let's be real, the struggle of I need 3 more lines to fill this page. If you're needing more content, this can be an excellent list for you to refer to. So this actually comes from the National Association of Colleges and Employers. We are a member of that organization. And every year they survey employers and they say, which of these things is most important to you? And I'm telling you, the top 4 rarely have changed. They've been the same over time. So if you need a few more lines or some more great content on your resume, you might think in terms of, have I addressed my ability to solve problems? Have I talked about the fact that I'm great at collaboration? You know, what about my oral and written communication skills? And then depending on the role, the other 4 are also very important. So digital technology, so that's your computer skills. What can you do on a computer, and what of those skills would be important to this employer? Leadership. The career management is a little kind of difficult to put on a resume, so I would omit that one, but also the global and multicultural fluency. If you know another language, or if you've studied abroad, or you have skills working with people in other cultures, that can be critical in an international business environment. So you want to think in terms of, is there anything on this list that I've missed on my resume? Should I go back and make sure that I have addressed this? So again, this is just a help to you in that instance. Now, it's really important to do your research. So before I just look at, check the things off of this list, I'm also thinking, okay, if this company is looking to hire me as a registered nurse and their job posting is lame, well, how might I do some other research? And if it's a nurse in the critical care department, let's say at Northwest Texas Hospital, well, if their job posting doesn't have a whole lot of content or information about the required qualifications, well, maybe you look at Baylor Hospital to see, do they have a good job posting that tells me about some things that I might. So we're going to research, and what do other job postings ask for? What are some skills that I might need to look for? And there are lots of great websites that you can go to. One of them is the ONET website. I'm going to ask my team members to put that website in the chat so that you can reference that. But the ONET website could be a great resource for you to go and type in a particular job title, and it will give you tons of information about what sort of knowledge, skills, and abilities do you need? What kind of work would you do in that particular role? But again, you are just saying, you're just doing your research and you're trying to be so well prepared. Okay, so this is an example of that. The other thing that I want to talk about is that WT is a strengths-based campus. And as I talk to WT students through this webinar, whether you're watching live right now or you're going to watch later, I want you to know that if you go to our WT website, if you've not had the opportunity to take the Strengths Finder, it is at wtamu.edu/buffstrong. And I challenge every WT student. We have a subscription where WT students can go to that website, and there'll be a button there that says take the assessment now. Okay, so it's been great working with students. We have a lot of strengths coaches in our office, and we love to talk to students about their strengths. And some of what we know is that 4 in 10 employees in the world strongly agree that they have the opportunity to do what they do best every day. And that breaks our heart in career services. We want all of our students to be able to work in their strengths. And when you do, you're 3 times as likely to report having an excellent quality of life and 6 times as likely to be engaged in your job. And we believe engaged employees are more likely to make more money, get promoted, all of the good things that we want to happen to us in the workforce. So what I want to say to you here is that a lot of students are tempted to put their 5 strengths on their resume. So it might say positivity, belief, achiever, woo, and connectedness. And so they throw that on the page and they hope that that will be meaningful to someone. And I want you to know that most people don't speak that language, okay? So I want you to take the Strengths Finder and I want you to learn about your strengths. And that strengths report is going to give you great content about superpowers that you have that you probably take for granted. I'll use myself as an example. My number 1 strength is positivity. And when I first got my strengths, I thought, well, this is lame, because I really wanted total world domination strengths, and like positivity, it's like I thought to myself, well, everybody can just choose to be positive. Okay, but what I have realized is the strength that I have that can add value in the work that I want to do is really the ability to add energy and enthusiasm to a team. And so think in terms of, because I have this particular strength, this is what I do well, and this is something that would add value to an employer. So I encourage you to find ways to put information about your strengths in your qualifications section, but please don't just put those words, because again, if the organization isn't familiar with strengths, the employer will not benefit from knowing you have positivity. Okay, so again, we just want you to know this was sort of just a brief introduction to a specific section on our resume workshop. We'd love for you to join us for a resume workshop. We have a schedule that's in Handshake, and we're doing webinars all the time. We also have in-person workshops generally during the regular semesters, and so you can check Handshake to see what that schedule looks like. We would love to help you in our office. If you'd like to put together your resume and then submit that to us along with the job posting, we could actually look at those 2 things and we could say, gosh, you know, have you remembered to include this or not? So we hope that you'll reach out to us at West Texas A&M so that we can help you with your resume. All right, well, we appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for coming to our workshop. We hope that you have a great resume and we wish you luck in your job search.